we're going to talk about multiplying fractions using area models like we talked about yesterday. So we're going to go ahead and solve this problem, 2/3 times 4/5. So we're going to show this problem using the area model, and we're going to write our fractions next to each side. So I'm going to go ahead and say that this side is going to be my 2/3. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take 2/3 and I am going to divide this into thirds. So I'm going to look at this first fraction. Okay, and I'm going to actually look at, oops, this is a mistake, sorry. So you're going to look at the denominator of the first fraction. All right, you're going to have to erase. So we're going to look at the denominator of the first fraction. And it tells us how many parts the rectangle will be divided into. It's my dog talking. This could be a rough video. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to divide this into thirds because my denominator tells me to divide it into thirds. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to shade in the amount listed in the numerator. So the denominator tells me how many parts. The numerator is going to tell me how many parts to shade. So I have 3 parts, and I'm going to shade 2 of those 3 parts. So I'm just going to take my pen and I'm going to shade in 2/3. So that's representing 2/3. After displaying the first fraction, I'm going to do the same with the second fraction. However, I'm going to draw the lines the opposite way of the first fraction. So the second fraction that I'm looking at is 4/5. So I'm going to just write 4/5 on this side. And since we're drawing area models, it's like we're drawing the area. We're finding the area. So I'm going to look at the denominator, and it says 5. So I'm going to draw 5 parts. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and then what I'm going to do, because I have 5 parts, so here's 1, here's 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to now shade in 4/5. So I'm going to go ahead, but I'm going to make X's. So there's 1/5. There's 2/5. There's 3/5. And there's 4/5. So I have shaded 2/3 and then I've shaded 4/5, but I put X's to kind of show the difference, okay? Now I'm going to look at the whole rectangle. I'm going to look at the whole rectangle. And I'm going to ask, how many parts are there? So if I count all the parts, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I have 15 parts, okay? So the 15 is going to become my denominator. Oops, too small. My denominator. How many of those parts did we're going to say overlap. And overlap means that I shaded them over. So I overlap. So how many parts did I overlap with shading? So overlap means I shaded and I had X's. So if I look, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 parts that are both shaded and X. So I have 8 parts. This is going to become my numerator, and I have 8 of them. So if I do 4 times 2/3, 4/5 times 2/3, I'm going to wind up with 8 15ths. And if I multiply, 2 times 4 is 8, 3 times 5 is 15. That's what my model shows as well. And if it helps, we all talked about yesterday about how you can get 2 different colors and you can shade those as well. Okay? So my final answer is going to be 8/15. We want to always remember to reduce, but since I cannot reduce my answer, I can't divide 8/15 by anything, I'm going to go ahead and say that's my final answer. All right? Okay, let's go ahead and look at this one. And I think what I might do is try to get a different color. So I'm going to reach over here, see if I can find something that's a different color, which is very rare since I always have purple pens. Okay, so let's do this. So we're going to go ahead and the first thing that we're going to do is 1/2 times 1/4. So I'm going to take this 1/2 and represent it using this black pen. So I'm going to take my whole rectangle. I'm going to divide my whole rectangle in half. Not very well, but I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to shade 1/2. So I'm going to go ahead and shade 1/2 with my black pen. Then I'm going to take my purple one, and that's going to represent 1/4. And I'm going to come over here and I'm going to draw 4 lines because I'm going to do 1/4. This is hard to do holding this. All right, so now I have fourths. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to shade in just one of them with my purple pen. If I count all of the boxes, if I count all of my parts, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 parts. So that's my denominator. And the 2 pieces that overlapped, or the piece that overlapped, is right here. This is both shaded black and purple. So that's just going to be 1/8. And I'm going to not have to reduce that. That's going to be my final answer. Okay? Lastly, I'm going to go over here. And this is going to be 3/4. And 3/4 times 2/5, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take the 3/4. The 4 tells me I'm going to divide it into 4 pieces. So there's my 4 pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'm going to shade 3 of those pieces. So I'm going to go ahead and shade 3 of those pieces. And I'm just going to use my purple. I'm just going to do this. Sorry, I'm very sloppy at this. It's hard to hold the camera and do this. So that represents 3/4. My other one is 2/5. So I'm going to draw across till I have 5 sections. So, whoops, we're going to get the different pen. So here I have 1. So that's 1. I'm going to do another one across. This is 2. I'm going to go across again. 3, and one more time would be 4, 5. So I can see that I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I have divided that into fifths. And the numerator tells me out of those 5 rows, I'm going to shade in 2 rows. So I'm going to shade in this row. There's 1. And I'm going to shade in this row. And that's 2. And then I'm going to look at how many I had all together to figure this out. So my overlapping, so I can see that I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 overlapping fractions. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 total boxes. And if I did my fractions right, 3 times 2 is 6, 4 times 5 is 20, so I should have 6 20ths. But what can I do? I can totally reduce this because I can divide both of these by the number 2 because they're both even. So 6 divided by 2 is 3. 20 divided by 2 is 10. So our final answer for this is 3/10. Okay? Go ahead and see if you can do 2/5 times a half, 3/4 times 1/3, and 1/6 times 1/5. Don't forget to reduce if you need to. Okay? And I'll show you a picture of my dog since she's right here. Come here, Maya. Maya, come here. Come here. Here's Maya. She's wanting to go outside. All right, we'll grade this in a little bit.